From Queen Charlotte handling reality way better than Bridgerton ever did, to fans being a lot more excited for another season of the limited series. Here's why the prequel is so much better than the original show. The spin-off is way better than the parent show. There, I said it. I know the Bridgerton universe was something we couldn't get enough of. I mean, it did give us some epic debutantes conquering the ruthless marriage market, lovebirds navigating their not-so-perfect feelings, scandalous gossip columns turning society upside down, and badass ladies kicking societal norms to the curb. But Queen Charlotte? She's on a whole other level. This prequel takes a walk on the dark side, with sparks flying left, right, and center. And the storyline? Well, let's just say it tugs at your heartstrings, leaving you with that bittersweet lump in your throat. But what really sets Queen Charlotte apart from its sequel is its refreshing groundedness. Bridgerton was all about pastel fluff and fairy tale endings, but Queen Charlotte brings the realness to the table. Based on actual historical figures, this prequel series has an edge that Bridgerton couldn't deliver. Sure, they took some creative liberties, but there's a dose of realism that gives it that extra oomph. The show taps into the complexity of the British monarchy, adding a touch of real-world spice to Charlotte and George's relationship. Plus, Lady Danbury's got her own juicy storyline, among others, making Queen Charlotte feel firmly rooted in the good stuff. Also, the stakes are higher than ever before. Bridgerton had its fair share of romantic stakes, but the spin-off takes it up a notch. While some Bridgerton characters faced potential heartbreak if their love didn't prevail, the entire British society had its eyes on Queen Charlotte and King George III. Their relationship had to work, or else they risked the livelihoods of countless citizens. Imagine Lady Danbury almost losing her title at the whim of Parliament and Princess Augusta. It was a constant balancing act for Charlotte and George to maintain their appearances and keep their roles and romance intact. The consequences were high and the pressure was on. All in all, everything was hanging in the balance. One major difference between the two shows is how they showed Charlotte and George's love story. Sure, in the parent series, we got those fleeting glimpses of their connection, but the prequel takes it to a whole new level. Queen Charlotte dives deep into their relationship, giving us the full spectrum of their love story. We see the highs and lows, the passion and tenderness, and even the conflicts that arise. And let's not forget the impact of George's mental health on their early relationship. While Bridgerton teased us with a glimpse of their love, Queen Charlotte gives us depth and nuance. While that's one of the standout points of the show, we've got other characters that take a backseat in comparison, like Lady Whistledown. The prequel is so much more than just her gossip column. While Lady Whistledown's voice pops up from time to time, her role is much smaller in the grand scheme of things. The focus of the series shifts away from the gossip-hungry Ton and delves deeper into Queen Charlotte's past and inner world, areas where Lady Whistledown isn't quite in the know. This allows the spotlight to shine on the captivating characters and their stories without being overshadowed by the society scribe. Lady Whistledown's society papers add a touch of intrigue without stealing the show. On a more serious note, though, the show perfectly handles other topics like why the Queen constantly asks about the King's death, right from the get-go in Queen Charlotte. The older version of our Queen can't help but ask over and over again if her husband is dead. It's a question that keeps popping up in both shows, but the prequel finally spills the beans. It turns out King George's mental health has been going downhill for ages, and as long as he's still breathing, Charlotte can't fully live her own life or break free from their love. The King's presence just hangs over her, preventing her from grieving him properly. It's like she's stuck in this weird in-between zone, unable to move on because he's technically still around, even though he's a mere shadow of his former self. Queen Charlotte's constant inquiry about his fate is her way of desperately seeking closure. And the show captures her desperation and helplessness beautifully, without making her look selfish or cruel. Queen Charlotte doesn't just focus on the main characters, but also gives the side characters their time to shine. Unlike Bridgerton, the show delves into their storylines too. Lady Danbury and Lady Bridgerton's friendship has leveled up in Queen Charlotte. In Bridgerton, it was all about the younger folks' love dramas and scandals. But in the prequel, things get really deep. They've become BFFs who can share anything, from advice to support without holding back. And you know what? They even tackle the taboo topics like sex and desire, breaking free from the stuffy social norms. And then there's my personal favorite love story, Reynolds and Brimsley. In Bridgerton, the servants were basically background noise, with only Lady Featherington's maid and Queen Charlotte's sidekick getting some lines. But in Queen Charlotte, they step into the spotlight and interact more with the main characters. They even get their own juicy storylines. Brimsley, Queen Charlotte's right-hand man, is not just there for the show anymore. He's got his own drama and romance with Reynolds, King George's personal attendant. And it's not just Brimsley who gets a makeover. The other servants shine too. Take Cora, Lady Agatha Danbury's lady's maid. She's not just running errands, she's dishing out opinions and being the voice of reason. Queen Charlotte flips the script and shows us that the servants have lives, conflicts, and even love. Also, this is the first time that a queer love story has been introduced in the Bridgerton world. And no, it doesn't end there. Just when you think the show can't serve anymore, it does. This time with Lady Danbury and her story. In Bridgerton, she's a total boss, playing matchmaker and dropping wisdom bombs left and right. But her backstory? It was like a big question mark. We barely knew anything beyond her connection to the Duke of Hastings. But as always, Queen Charlotte is here to spill all the deets. The prequel series goes deep into Lady Danbury's past, uncovering her relationship with her hubby, her journey to the royal court, and her fierce battle to secure her title for her kids' sake. It's like a light bulb moment, illuminating why she's such a badass in Bridgerton. Apart from handling the side characters perfectly, there's another thing the showmakers took into account this time: the historical accuracy. Now I know the whole show is supposed to be fictional, but that isn't quite the case. Parts of the show actually align with real history. Historians have spoken up, saying that the actual King George III likely battled mental illness. The royal family's own website even mentions his hypomania, which is like a fancy term for a manic episode that can be part of bipolar disorder. And get this, they dug up thousands of the king's handwritten letters as proof. Doctors Peter Garrett and Vasiliki Rentumi spilled the tea to the BBC, confirming that old George had a full-on psychiatric illness. The show even dedicates a whole episode to George's perspective, giving us a glimpse into his struggles. But here's the kicker. The treatment scenes are spot on for the time, showcasing the ignorance surrounding mental illness back then. And the interesting bit is that Queen Charlotte doesn't mess around when it comes to dealing with the illness storyline. They handle it with all the compassion and consideration you could ask for. It's not just some shock value or added drama. They want these characters to be as multidimensional as possible. And they definitely deliver. I mean, let's be real. This ain't your typical whimsical romance where it's all about the will they or won't they. Queen Charlotte goes deeper, tackling some heavy stuff along the way. And you know what? That's what makes it so darn great. And hey, unlike its parent show, Queen Charlotte doesn't have intimate scenes just for the sake of it. Now don't get me wrong, the show is packed with intimacy, and they're a whole vibe, but they may not be as steamy as the first season of Bridgerton. This isn't a bad thing, because apparently, the fans live for those intense gazes and lingering touches that Queen Charlotte has definitely delivered. Speaking of what the fans want, they want another season. Even though Queen Charlotte started as a limited series, there's a glimmer of hope for a season 2. The stars and the brilliant mind behind it all, Shonda Rhimes, have expressed interest in continuing the journey. So, fingers crossed. But hey, even if we don't get a season 2 of Queen Charlotte, there's still something to look forward to. When Bridgerton returns for season 3, we'll get to see our beloved Queen Charlotte and King George again, but in a whole new light. Well, there you have it. From fans being excited for another season of the limited series to Queen Charlotte handling reality way better than Bridgerton. This was everything on why Queen Charlotte is so much better than Bridgerton.